What if nothing could shake you anymore? Not a harsh word, not a silent betrayal, not the storms of anxiety, nor the crushing weight of others' opinions. What if your peace no longer came and went based on who stayed or who left, what was said or left unsaid, or what was given and later taken away? What if your sense of calm, your center, your stillness remained untouched, no matter what tried to disturb it? That kind of strength is not a fantasy. It is not just reserved for monks in robes or sages in forests. It is a real, lived possibility. A spiritual state cultivated through discipline, wisdom, and deep inner awareness. In the world of Buddhist teachings, we call this becoming untouchable. Not in arrogance, not in separation, but in spiritual liberation, where the world still moves around you, but it no longer moves you. Becoming untouchable doesn't mean you stop feeling. It doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means that you no longer get pulled into the endless cycle of reaction. You stop bleeding every time someone else drops a sword. You stop handing your peace to people who don't know how to handle their own pain. You stop allowing the noise of the world to drown out the voice of your own soul. You don't become empty, you become full. So full of stillness, presence, and clarity that no outer chaos can disrupt your inner calm. Welcome to Wisdom Without Noise, where we don't teach resistance, we teach resilience. Where we don't escape the world, we move through it with such grace that the world cannot escape our presence. This channel is your sacred space to breathe deeper, see clearer, and rise higher through teachings rooted in ancient Buddhist wisdom. If you're someone who has been hurt, misunderstood, drained by emotional chaos, or trapped by thoughts that don't serve you, you are in the right place. In this video, we'll walk through 10 powerful steps, each one a new key to a door that leads you deeper into spiritual mastery. You'll learn how to let go of the need for validation, how to stop taking things personally, how to break free from attachment, from reaction, from the invisible strings that pull at your mind every day. These steps are not theory, they are practice. They are transformation. They are your path to becoming unshakable. Not because the world got quieter, but because you did. So take a slow breath in. Feel the tension leave your body. Let the mental noise fall away like leaves in the wind. This is your moment. This is your return to the you that was never meant to be controlled by the outside. And if this journey already stirs something deep inside you, consider subscribing and becoming part of this sacred circle of seekers. Because what we are building here is not just a channel, it's a movement into silence, into self-mastery, into truth. Now, let us begin the journey. Step 1. Master the art of non-attachment to praise or blame. To become untouchable, the first battle must be won in the realm of opinion, both praise and blame. It is one of the subtlest traps on the spiritual path. Praise feels good, almost addictive. Blame stings, often unbearably so. Both bind us, both feed the ego, and both can control us, unless we rise above their influence. Buddhism teaches that as long as your peace is dependent on how others perceive you, you are still a prisoner, even if your cage is lined with compliments. The Buddha himself warned of this. He said there are 8 worldly winds: gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Most people are blown around by these winds like leaves in a storm. One compliment and they rise, one criticism and they crumble. But the awakened one, the untouchable one, remains unmoved, not because they don't hear the winds, but because they are rooted deeper than the wind can reach. This doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you open your awareness. You begin to see that praise and blame are not truth. They are perspectives. Praise often reflects what someone admires in themselves. Blame often reflects what they cannot face in themselves. Either way, it's about them, not you. And when you realize this, You stop riding the emotional roller coaster of approval and rejection. You step off, you watch it go by, you breathe, you remain. It takes deep practice to reach this state, because praise can be seductive. It feeds the ego's need to be validated, seen, and loved. But the danger lies in depending on it. The moment you start needing it, you become easy to manipulate. You start bending, changing, hiding, or performing just to receive that fleeting sense of worth. And with blame, the opposite happens. You shrink, you defend, you become reactive, you give someone else the power to decide how you feel about yourself. So how do you master this art? You begin by observing your reactions. When someone praises you, pause. Say thank you with humility, but then let it go. Don't cling. Don't make it part of your identity. And when someone blames you, pause again. Ask yourself, is there truth in this? If yes, learn from it. If not, release it. Do not defend your worth, embody it. Try this mantra in moments of emotional turmoil. I am not defined by what is said about me. I am defined by the peace within me. Repeat it slowly. Let it anchor you. Let it remind you that praise and blame are like waves on the surface of the ocean. But you are the deep, still waters beneath. As this practice deepens, you'll notice a powerful shift. The more you detach from praise and blame, the more freedom you feel. You'll no longer need to impress anyone. You'll no longer fear judgment. You'll simply walk through the world with quiet strength. Living your truth, not performing a role. You become untouchable, not because no one speaks, but because you no longer react. This is the first step. It's not easy, but it is essential, because until you are free from praise and blame, your peace will never be your own. Step 2. Strengthen your inner refuge. Every storm eventually passes, but what determines whether you survive it or are shattered by it is whether you have built a shelter within. Buddhism teaches that true refuge is not found in people, places, or possessions. It is found in presence, in practice, in the quiet, sacred space you cultivate inside your own being. That is your inner refuge. And if you want to become untouchable, you must strengthen it daily. The Buddha did not promise a life without difficulty. He promised a way to face difficulty without being destroyed by it. That way begins with taking refuge, not outside, but inward. This is not withdrawal from life, but an awakening to the part of you that cannot be harmed by life. When everything around you crumbles, the untouchable one knows how to retreat into this inner temple. Not to escape, but to remember. The world is loud. It demands your attention. It tries to convince you that your peace is somewhere out there. In the right career, in the right relationship, in the next achievement. But if your peace is placed in those things, then your peace is fragile, conditional, vulnerable. And the moment those things shift, as they always do, your foundation trembles. But when you turn inward, when you begin to sit with yourself in silence, you discover that there is a place within you that remains unshaken. This is why Buddhist monks meditate not just to relax, but to build inner strength. Each moment on the cushion is a brick in the foundation of the inner refuge. Each breath taken mindfully is a reinforcement of that sacred shelter. With time, the breath becomes your doorway home. No matter what happens around you, you can always return to it. Breathe in, return. Breathe out, release. Nothing touches you in that space except truth. But this inner refuge must be nurtured. Like a fire, it must be tended. Like a garden, it must be cleared of weeds. You do this by creating stillness in your life, by choosing sacred routines, by journaling your truth, by turning off the noise and turning toward your soul. Every time you honor your own company, Every time you sit in silence instead of reaching for distraction, you are building your untouchability. You are becoming your own home. And here's the beauty. Once your refuge is within you, no one can take it from you. People may disappoint you, plans may fall through, life may break its promises. But your inner sanctuary remains, always open, always safe, always yours. You will no longer panic when support disappears because you've discovered the one support that never leaves, yourself. Try this. Each morning, before the world grabs you, close your eyes and ask, what do I need to return home to myself today? Listen. Then do it. Even if for 5 minutes, let those minutes become your sacred temple. Let them anchor you, cleanse you, remind you of your strength. Because the person who has found shelter within cannot be pushed, shaken, or undone. They walk through fire without being burned. They lose the world without losing themselves. They are free because they are whole. And this, dear seeker, is how you become untouchable. Step 3. Withdraw the arrow of expectation. There is a quiet truth in Buddhist wisdom, one that holds the key to lasting peace. It says that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The difference lies in the second arrow. Life will, without doubt, pierce us with the first arrow. A heartbreak, a loss, a betrayal, a failure. But the second arrow is the one we fire into ourselves with our thoughts, our clinging, our expectations. And it is that second arrow that often causes us to bleed the longest. Expectation is a soft blade. It doesn't wound immediately, but it cuts deep over time. It begins innocently, a wish, a hope, a belief that if I love you, you will love me back. If I work hard, I will be rewarded. If I do everything right, life will go as planned. But the world does not move according to our inner contracts. It is vast, unpredictable, constantly shifting, like a river that refuses to stay within our drawn lines. And so when things don't unfold the way we envisioned, we suffer, not because life betrayed us, but because we expected it not to. To become untouchable is to awaken from the dream of control. It is to recognize that expectation is not love, it is a demand. It is not faith, it is a subtle form of fear. It says, I will be okay only if the outcome is what I imagined. But what if it's not? What if the person leaves? What if the plan fails? What if the door closes? When your happiness depends on specific outcomes, you build your peace on sand. One unexpected tide, and everything sinks. The Buddha taught that liberation is not found in grasping, but in letting go. When you let go of expectation, you begin to touch the freedom of acceptance, not as resignation, but as presence. You still set intentions, you still plant seeds, you still show up with love, courage, and discipline. But you release your grip on what must grow, how fast it should bloom, and whether the harvest will match your vision. This is not giving up, this is growing up in spirit. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop needing the world to respond to you in a particular way for you to feel complete. You begin to give without measuring. You begin to serve without strings. You begin to love without keeping score. And in doing so, you enter a state of grace, where your heart is open, but your joy is not held hostage by circumstance. Think of how many times your expectations have led you into pain. The friend who didn't show up the way you hoped, the promotion that didn't arrive, the apology that never came. In each case, your suffering was not just because of what happened, but because of the attachment to how it should have happened. That should is the second arrow. That should is the prison, and the only key is to let it go. Try this practice. Sit in silence and reflect on one person or situation where you feel hurt. Ask yourself, what was I expecting? What did I believe I deserved? What was the contract I made in my mind? Then breathe, long and slow. And with each breath, imagine pulling out the arrow, not with anger, not with resistance, but with compassion for yourself. Say gently, I release this expectation. I withdraw the arrow. I return to peace. Over time, this practice becomes a way of life. You walk lighter. You feel freer. You begin to enjoy the moment for what it is, not for what it could have been. You show up in relationships with generosity, not demands. You start to live from a place of wholeness, not need. And in that state, no one can truly hurt you because nothing has to happen in a certain way for you to be at peace. You become like the sky, open, vast, unaffected by the clouds that pass through. Joys come and go. Disappointments visit and leave, but you remain untouched, anchored, whole. And that, dear one, is why the untouchable soul is not empty. It is free. Free from the illusions of how it should be. Free from the pain of why didn't they. Free from the endless reaching for what's already passing. Withdraw the arrow, return to presence, and walk forward, light, liberated, and untouchable. Step 4. Break the mirror of external identity. If you truly want to become untouchable, you must first destroy the illusion that has quietly enslaved you for most of your life, the illusion of identity built on external reflection. The ego loves mirrors. It thrives in the eyes of others. It feeds on applause and shrinks at criticism. But what if the person you think you are was never really you? What if your sense of self was not born from truth, but from repetition, repeated words, repeated expectations, repeated roles handed to you by society, family, peers, and culture? From childhood, we begin building our identity not by looking within, but by collecting pieces of how the world sees us. You're such a good boy. You're always so shy. You're difficult. You're brilliant. Every label sticks like glue until we start to think it's part of our skin. And with every new role, student, achiever, sibling, parent, success story, disappointment, we become less of who we are and more of what we're supposed to be. These identities become masks, and eventually we forget there was ever a face beneath them. Buddhism teaches us that the self is not fixed, it is impermanent, just like everything else. What we cling to as me is really just a collection of thoughts, memories, reactions, and labels that constantly evolve and dissolve. But when we forget this truth, we become overly invested in preserving an image. We start performing life rather than living it. We alter our tone to be accepted. We suppress our truth to avoid rejection. We smile when we want to scream and stay silent when we long to speak. We seek permission to exist. This is the prison of external identity, and the only escape is to break the mirror. What does that mean? It means you stop defining yourself by what others reflect back at you. It means you begin the courageous and often uncomfortable journey inward to discover who you are without performance. Who are you when there's no audience, no applause, no social mask, no Instagram feed to polish, no titles to lean on? Who are you when you're simply being? You may find at first that there's a terrifying silence behind the mask. That silence is sacred. It is the doorway to the truth. You may realize how many decisions you've made based not on your inner wisdom, but on how it would appear from the outside. You may see how much your self-worth has been tied to achievement, appearance, validation, or status. And you may grieve because in that realization, you'll feel the weight of how much of your life has been lived for them, not for you. But in that grief, a seed of freedom is planted. Because the moment you begin to dismantle this mirror, piece by piece, you awaken to the truth that your value is not something to be seen, but something to be felt. It does not need approval to exist. It does not need likes, praise, attention, or understanding. You begin to realize that the most powerful self is not the loudest or most impressive, it's the most authentic. And authenticity is only found in solitude, in silence, in the brave act of letting go of image and returning to essence. The Buddha taught that clinging to ego is a major cause of suffering, and ego thrives in the mirror. It wants to be important. It wants to be seen as good, as special, as successful. But the more you invest in that ego, the more fragile you become, because your peace rises and falls with every opinion. Your worth hangs in the balance of others' moods, judgments, and reactions. One harsh word and you break. One misunderstanding and you spiral. But when you break the mirror, when you step away from the constant need for validation, you discover an incredible power. Nothing outside you has the authority to define you anymore. Not praise, not criticism, not gossip, not fame, not rejection. You take back the pen and start writing your identity from a place of truth, not from fear, not from pressure, and not from performance. To begin this, practice sacred solitude. Sit in silence daily, not to meditate in the traditional sense, but to observe your own presence. Strip away titles. Stop trying to be impressive. Let yourself just be. Notice the impulse to reach for validation and let it pass like a cloud. Journal the roles you've carried and ask yourself, which ones still serve my soul? Which ones are costumes? Also, reflect on your social behaviors. How often do you alter yourself to fit in? How often do you shrink to avoid being judged? Begin to reclaim those lost parts of you, the unfiltered, wild, and true version of yourself that existed before you were told who to be. That version is where your freedom lives. That version is untouchable because it no longer plays a role and therefore cannot be wounded when the script changes. Eventually, you'll find that even in a room full of people who misunderstand you, you feel safe. Even when the world forgets your name, you feel seen because you have stopped living in their reflection and started living in your own light. And when you become that light, you don't just break the mirror, you outgrow it. Step 5. Train in noble silence. In a world addicted to noise, the noise of opinion, performance, urgency, and distraction, there is one discipline that leads you to your deepest strength: noble silence. This is not just the absence of sound, it is the intentional withdrawal from the need to speak, to prove, to react, to be heard. In Buddhist tradition, noble silence is a sacred practice. It is a return to the source. It is the moment you stop echoing the world and begin hearing your own soul. True silence is rare, not because it is hard to find, but because it is hard to face. The moment the noise fades, the notifications, the conversations, the background hum, we are left with ourselves. And for many, that self has been neglected for so long that silence feels like loneliness. But in Buddhism, we are taught that silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. It is the space where insight arises, where clarity returns, and where your spirit begins to remember who it truly is, beyond the words, beyond the roles, beyond the chatter of the world. When you begin to train in noble silence, the first thing you'll notice is the intensity of your own thoughts. Without external sound to drown them out, your mind gets louder fast. You may hear self-judgment, regret, restlessness, old pain, but do not run. This is where the work begins. Sit, breathe, witness it all. The silence is not hurting you, it's revealing you. And in that revelation, there is healing. Because only what is seen can be released. Only what is faced can be transformed. There's a story in the Buddhist tradition of a monk who spent years in silence. When asked what he gained from it, he replied, "I learned what I didn't need to say." That's the essence of noble silence. You begin to notice how much of your speech is driven by ego, defending yourself, seeking validation, filling space. You realize how often words are used not to connect, but to cover, and slowly you begin to speak less, but with more power. You begin to use your voice not as a weapon or a shield, but as an instrument of truth. To practice noble silence doesn't mean you isolate yourself from the world. It means you stop participating in unnecessary noise. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop reacting to every offense. You stop broadcasting your every thought, your every move. You begin to move with intention. You listen more, you observe, and when you do speak, your words carry the energy of peace because they were born in silence. Try this. Dedicate 10 minutes each day to complete silence. No phone, no conversation, no music. Just sit, breathe. Watch your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. Do not cling to them. Do not push them away. Just be. You may feel uncomfortable at first, even restless, but stay. There is gold in the stillness. There is strength in what is not said. Over time, you'll notice something miraculous. The world becomes louder, but you become quieter. And in that quiet, you become unshakable. There's another reason noble silence leads to becoming untouchable. It returns your energy inward. Words are energy. Every opinion you give away, every argument you enter, every explanation you offer unnecessarily, it all drains you. But silence charges you. It pulls your power back into your being. You become less reactive, more centered. You begin to carry a calm that cannot be disturbed, a stillness that speaks louder than any voice. Eventually, noble silence becomes a way of being. You don't always need to respond. You don't always need to be understood. You don't always need to fill the space. You are content in your presence, comfortable in your own soul, and that comfort radiates. It becomes your shield, your strength, your superpower, because the one who can sit in silence without fear, without needing distraction, affirmation, or attention, is the one who has returned to themselves. And the one who has returned to themselves is truly untouchable. Step 6. Let go of the emotional echo. Within the teachings of the Buddha lies a profound understanding of suffering. It is not always the event itself that causes our pain. It is the echo that remains long after the moment has passed. This echo is subtle, but it's powerful. It lives in our nervous system, in the corners of our mind, in the silent clench of our chest. We carry it through life, unaware that what disturbs our peace today is often the reverberation of yesterday. And if you desire to become untouchable, truly grounded, present, and free, you must learn how to recognize the echo and then lovingly release it. The emotional echo is the silent repetition of old suffering. It's the pattern of being triggered by something small, a tone of voice, a glance, a word, not because of what was said in the moment, but because of what it reminds you of. A parent who never listened, a friend who betrayed, a partner who abandoned. The pain from those moments may have been real, but it is long gone. What remains is the imprint, a loop that plays inside you like a song stuck on repeat. You may believe it is your intuition warning you, but it's often just the past still knocking at the door of your nervous system. In Buddhist mindfulness practice, we learn to observe this echo without becoming it. You are not your thoughts. You are not your triggers. You are not the emotion that surges through you in a wave of fear, anger, or grief. You are the space in which it arises, the witness, the presence behind the pain. But that presence can only emerge when you stop clinging to the story that the emotion tells. When you stop identifying with the echo, you begin to hear the silence that lives underneath it, the silence that is your true self. Letting go of emotional echoes does not mean erasing your past. It means liberating yourself from its grip. Many people live in reaction to life, not in response to it. Reaction is automatic, unconscious, rooted in past wounds. Response is conscious, intentional, born from presence. When you release the echo, you stop reacting from the wound and begin responding from wisdom. That is the true mark of the untouchable, someone who is no longer defined by what happened to them, but by how they choose to be in each moment, free from the ghosts of their story. To begin this work, first acknowledge the echoes. Notice the emotions that feel disproportionate to the moment. Ask yourself gently, what does this remind me of? What unhealed moment might this be tied to? Bring compassionate awareness to the place where it lives in your body. Is it in your jaw, clenched tight? Your chest, heavy with pressure? Your stomach, twisted in knots? Do not judge what arises. Do not try to fix it. Just be with it, breathe with it, witness it, like a kind guardian watching over a frightened child. Then offer this affirmation. This memory shaped me, but it does not own me. This pain protected me once, but I am safe now. I thank it for its message, and I lovingly release its echo. Visualize the emotion as sound waves fading into silence, or as a ripple disappearing across still water. Each time you practice this, you soften the grip of the echo. You make space for stillness to return. Understand also that some echoes are ancestral. Some are inherited from your parents, your lineage, your culture. These echoes are deeper, less visible, but they show up in patterns, avoidance, overachievement, people-pleasing, hyper-independence. They are the emotional DNA of generations who never had the tools to heal. You, however, do. You are the breaker of chains, the silence between the noise, the stillness after the storm. You are here to end cycles, not repeat them. To deepen this practice, integrate silence into your daily life. Turn off the external noise, the constant stimulation, the distractions, the conversations that keep you from facing yourself. Emotional echoes grow louder in noise, but they fade in stillness. Create moments in your day to simply be, with no agenda, no task, no reaction, just breath, just presence, just awareness. And in that quiet, you will find something astonishing. The echoes that once ruled your inner world no longer have volume. You are no longer playing their song. You have become a different frequency. Eventually, as you release these echoes, you'll begin to notice a shift in your relationships. You will no longer attract people who poke your old wounds. You will no longer fall into the same cycles of reaction. You will be able to hear a harsh word without flinching, receive rejection without crumbling, and stand in your truth without the need to prove or protect. This is not because the world changed, but because you did. You no longer carry the old sounds. You've become silent inside, and silence cannot be shaken. Letting go of the emotional echo is not an overnight journey. It's a sacred unfolding, a peeling back, a daily choice to return to yourself instead of your story. But every time you let go of one more echo, you take a step closer to becoming untouchable, not because nothing can reach you, but because nothing can hold you hostage anymore. So breathe, witness, release, and listen to the new sound that arises. The peaceful hum of a soul that is no longer echoing the past, but resonating with freedom. Step 7. Practice death of the false self. To truly become untouchable, you must die. Not physically, but spiritually. You must allow the false self to dissolve. That version of you built on fear, built on ego, built on the need to be something for someone else, that self must be lovingly buried. Buddhism teaches us that clinging to a permanent I is one of the great illusions of the mind. But letting go of that false identity, that is liberation, that is rebirth, that is the beginning of a life that cannot be shaken. The false self is not inherently evil. It was created to protect you. It's the voice that helped you survive rejection, shame, pain. It's the mask you wore to belong, the armor you built to feel safe. But what once protected you can become your prison, The false self whispers things like, I am what I achieve, I am how I look, I must always be strong, I cannot be seen failing, if I don't have control, I'll fall apart. These thoughts feel real, but they are rooted in fear, not in truth. They are not who you are, they are who you learn to be. And the greatest tragedy, most people never question that version of themselves. They live their entire lives trying to upgrade the false self, decorating the mask, polishing the armor, instead of surrendering it. But no matter how beautiful the mask becomes, it is still a mask. It still hides the real you, and the real you, the silent witness behind the thoughts. The spacious awareness untouched by trauma, that self doesn't need to be impressive. It just needs to be remembered. In Buddhist practice, this is known as ego death, not a destruction, but a dissolution, a soft unraveling of who you thought you were, revealing the sacred silence underneath. When you sit in meditation long enough, you begin to watch thoughts come and go. You realize, I am not this thought, I am not this emotion, I am not even this name. I am the one who watches it all. That watcher, calm, clear, compassionate, is your true self. It cannot be hurt because it was never built on illusion. To practice the death of the false self, you must let go of control, let go of the performance, let go of needing to be understood, validated, or admired. Sit in the fire of not being who others think you are. Let the image collapse, let the ego scream, and then don't react. Just breathe, just observe, just be. In that moment, something ancient awakens in you, a peace that no praise can increase and no insult can destroy. This death is not a loss, it is a freedom. When the false self dies, what remains is stillness, clarity, purity of being. You begin to live not from reaction, but from presence. You stop chasing and start arriving. You stop grasping and start trusting. You stop pretending and start feeling. You are no longer trying to be someone. You are simply being. This transformation does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in layers. Every time you catch yourself seeking approval and you choose to stay grounded instead, a piece of the false self dies. Every time you admit you don't know and embrace vulnerability instead of image, the mask loosens. Every time you forgive instead of harden, love instead of fear, let go instead of control, the false self weakens and the true self shines. You will feel naked at first, exposed, raw. The ego will try to rebuild itself in new ways. Now, I am the spiritual one, it might say. But stay vigilant. Don't cling even to the idea of being awakened. Be nothing, be still, be open. The true self does not need labels. It does not need to be seen. It just needs to be. When you live from this place, from the truth behind the mask, you become untouchable. Not because you've armored yourself more, but because you've become transparent. You have nothing to defend, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, and in that space, you are free. So, let the false self fall like autumn leaves. Let the image die. Let the performance end. You are not here to impress the world. You are here to wake up. And in awakening, you find what no mask could ever give you: peace, presence, and a life untouched by illusion. Step 8. Free yourself from the cycle of reaction. The human mind is like a forest after the rain, dense with thoughts, dripping with past experiences, and constantly stirred by the winds of emotion. When something disturbs that forest, a sound, a word, a glance, the response is immediate: rustling, shaking, movement. This is how most of us live, in constant reaction. But reaction is not presence, it is not power. Reaction is the echo of old pain, the residue of ego, the smoke of an unseen fire. And to become untouchable, you must rise above this constant reactivity and reclaim your inner stillness. You must learn how to remain unshaken, not because nothing moves around you, but because nothing can move you without your permission. In Buddhist thought, this automatic reactivity is known as samskara, deeply embedded patterns in the mind that keep you repeating the same cycles again and again. When someone criticizes you, you might feel the old urge to defend. When you're ignored, you may shrink in worth. When things go wrong, you might spiral into anxiety. These are not conscious choices. They are emotional programs installed long ago. And most people, tragically, never update these programs. They live on autopilot, mistaking every emotional trigger as a truth, every discomfort as a threat. But discomfort is not danger. It's an opportunity, a bell, a mirror, a sacred invitation to grow. Reaction steals your freedom. It makes you a prisoner of other people's moods, a slave to every small disturbance, a puppet in the hands of your environment. You live not from your own center, but from the shifting winds of circumstance. One moment you're happy, the next you're spiraling, and you have no idea why. But freedom, real freedom, begins when you stop being your reaction and start observing it. When you realize that you are not the storm, but the sky it passes through. This is where mindfulness comes in, not just as a practice, but as a way of life. Every time you feel the rise of anger, the tightening of fear, the ache of insecurity, you are standing at a crossroads. You can follow the path of reaction, the same path you've walked 1,000 times, or you can pause, just pause. That sacred pause is the doorway to your awakening. In that breath, you are no longer a victim of your programming. You are a witness, and the witness is untouchable. Imagine living with this kind of awareness. Someone insults you, and instead of reacting, you breathe and see their pain. A delay ruins your plan, and instead of spiraling, you smile and adapt. A rejection stings, but instead of shrinking, you thank the universe for the redirection. This isn't passive, this is mastery. The untouchable being isn't cold or indifferent. They are awake. Awake to the fact that every moment is neutral until your mind labels it otherwise. To cultivate this kind of presence, begin by studying your own mind like a monk. What triggers you the most? What patterns always seem to pull you under? Is it when someone ignores you? When you feel unheard? When things don't go as planned? Write these down. Trace them back to their root. Often you'll find a wound, maybe in childhood, maybe in past relationships. Recognize that every overreaction is actually an over-reminder, a sign that something unresolved is being poked. But here's the truth. You don't need to react to heal. You need to witness to heal. Use the breath as your anchor. When the fire rises, breathe deep. Not shallow, not rushed, but full, conscious breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Bring your awareness into the body. Buddhist masters have taught this for centuries. Return to the breath, because the breath is always now, and the now is where the reaction dies. The now is where the pattern ends. Even deeper, notice the ego behind the reaction. It's often pride, fear of being disrespected, the need to be right. Reaction is usually ego trying to protect its image, but the untouchable soul doesn't live for image. It lives in truth, and the truth is quiet. The truth is still. When you are no longer ruled by how others see you, when you are no longer needing to control every outcome, that's when you stop reacting and start flowing. Over time, your energy changes. People will notice. They will test you and find that you cannot be baited. They will try to rattle you and meet silence. Not because you're suppressing, but because you've outgrown the battlefield. Your power isn't loud, it's rooted, and nothing rooted can be shaken by passing wind. So practice. When someone is rude, breathe and remain still. When anxiety knocks, smile at it like an old friend and let it pass. When your old patterns try to dance with you, bow out gracefully. With each pause, you chip away at samskara. With each breath, you become less reactive and more radiant, And one day, without even trying, you'll find yourself walking through a storm with calm eyes and a soft heart. You won't need to react because your peace no longer depends on anything outside of you. That's when you'll know you are becoming untouchable. Step 9. Become empty to receive everything. There is a quiet truth in the Dharma that the world often overlooks. Emptiness is not nothingness, it is spaciousness. It is not a lack, but a readiness. It is the sacred openness through which blessings can flow. And if you wish to become untouchable, truly at peace, resilient, and spiritually luminous, you must learn to become empty. Not empty as in hollow or broken, but empty as in still, free, surrendered. Empty of clinging, of noise, of the desperate hunger for more. Because the one who is empty is the one who can finally receive everything. In Buddhism, this concept is known as shunyata, or emptiness. It is one of the most profound and paradoxical teachings in all of spiritual philosophy. Shunyata does not mean void in a negative sense. It means the absence of fixed identity. It is the space between what you think you are and what you truly are. And in that space, you are limitless. You are no longer confined by the labels, the roles, the possessions, or the illusions that once defined you. You are free to be, free to receive, free to expand beyond the narrow cage of ego. But to enter this state, you must first be willing to let go. Let go of what you think you need to survive. Let go of the expectations that fill your heart with striving. Let go of the stories that have calcified in your mind, whispering that you are not enough, that you must keep proving your worth. Let go of your insistence on control, your addiction to productivity, your need for constant stimulation. These things weigh you down, and as long as you are full of them, you cannot hold what the universe wants to place in your hands. Consider the simple metaphor of a teacup. If it is already full, even if it's filled with bitter tea, nothing new can enter it. The master cannot pour in fresh tea until the cup is emptied. And so it is with your soul. Your cup may be full of fear, full of ambition, full of old pain. But what if you dared to tip it over, to spill it out, to risk the stillness of emptiness in exchange for something more sacred? Presence? This is not an easy path. The ego panics at the idea of emptiness. It equates silence with insignificance. It believes that to be valuable, you must be busy, visible, praised. But the Dhamma reveals another truth. The most powerful energy arises from stillness. The mountain is not loud, yet it endures. The sky says nothing, yet it holds everything. You don't become great by doing more, you become great by needing less. To practice this step, start small. Look at your environment, your home, your schedule, your digital world. What are you clinging to that no longer serves you? Begin releasing. Give away what you don't need. Cancel obligations that don't nourish you. Mute the voices that drown out your soul. Then go deeper. Look inside. What emotions are filling your inner space with noise? Resentment, jealousy, regret? Not everything you carry is yours to keep. Some things are meant to be felt and then set free. The beauty of becoming empty is that it's not about loss, it's about making room. When your hands are empty, you can catch the blessings falling all around you. When your mind is quiet, you can hear the divine whisper. When your heart is still, you can feel the pulse of the sacred moving through your life. And what you receive is not always what you expected. Sometimes it's deeper peace, sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's an unseen miracle. But it will come if there is room for it. In Buddhist monastic life, monks live with only the essentials. They carry few possessions. Their days are stripped of distractions, and yet they are often some of the most joyful people you will ever encounter. Why? Because joy does not come from accumulation. Joy comes from alignment, from lightness, from being untethered. In their emptiness, monks are full of clarity, compassion, serenity. You can feel it when they enter a room, the grounded stillness, the radiant calm, That can be you. And when you live from this place, you are no longer manipulated by lack. The world cannot control you with fear. Advertisements cannot make you chase what you don't need. Relationships cannot bind you with guilt. You are full of something deeper now: contentment, trust, spaciousness. You realize that you were never lacking, only cluttered. The blessings were always there, waiting for you to be ready. Even spiritually, many seekers are full of dogma, full of mental noise, full of questions that come from the mind but not the heart. But awakening does not require more answers. It requires deeper silence. When the mind stops shouting, the soul starts speaking. And in that emptiness, you discover something profound. Everything you were chasing was already inside you. You just needed the silence to feel it. Eventually, your entire energy begins to change. People feel more peace around you. Opportunities seem to flow to you. Your needs are met before you even ask. Not because you became aggressive, but because you became available. Emptiness creates availability. It's not passive, it's magnetic. It draws to you what belongs to you, without forcing, without striving, without fear. So embrace emptiness. Don't run from it. Don't fill the silence. Become the silence. Don't fear the space between things. Live in that space. Let yourself be still, open, surrendered. Let go of the noise that promised you power and find the sacred quiet that gives you peace. This is not about becoming invisible. It's about becoming invincible. Because the one who becomes empty receives everything. Step 10. Radiate loving kindness without seeking return. The final sign that you have become truly untouchable is this: you love without needing anything in return. You radiate peace, not to earn validation, but because it is your nature. You offer kindness, not to manipulate outcomes, but because your heart has become boundless. You give freely, forgive easily, and bless quietly, not because others deserve it, but because you are free. The most powerful energy on this earth is unconditional love, and once it flows through you, you realize no insult can harm you, no rejection can disturb you, and no lack can define you. You are filled not by the world, but by your own light. In Buddhism, this energy is called metta, loving kindness that is offered without attachment, without bargaining, without agenda. It is the ability to say, "May all beings be happy, may all beings be safe, may all beings be free from suffering." Not just your friends, not just those who love you back, but all beings, even those who hurt you, even those who don't understand you. This is not weakness, this is spiritual mastery, because only the deeply rooted can love in all directions and remain untouched. You see, conditional love is not love, it's a transaction. It says, "I'll love you if you agree with me. I'll be kind if you treat me well. I'll forgive if you apologize first," but that keeps you trapped. Your peace becomes a hostage to other people's behavior. True love, untouchable love, says, "I love you not because of what you do, but because of who I am." It flows like sunlight, warming everything in its path without discrimination. When you reach this place, you no longer carry grudges. You no longer build walls to protect your heart, because your heart is no longer fragile. It's spacious, open, anchored. Forgiveness becomes your default. Compassion becomes your instinct. You stop asking, "Do they deserve my love?" and instead ask, "Can I be a source of healing in this moment?" This shift is where you transcend victimhood and enter liberation. But this kind of love must begin within. So many people try to radiate love outward while internally battling self-hatred. It doesn't work. The first recipient of your compassion must be you. You must bless your own flaws, offer patience to your own wounds, forgive your own missteps, speak gently to your own mind. This is not selfish, it is sacred, because until you love yourself without condition, you will unconsciously put conditions on others. You will seek in them what you have not yet given to yourself. So take time to practice loving kindness meditation. Sit in stillness and silently repeat, "May I be well. May I be safe. May I be at peace. Let those words soften your heart. Then expand the circle. May my loved ones be well. May the strangers be well. May those who have hurt me be well. Let that light move outward like ripples on a still pond. You don't need to feel warm emotions every time. The intention is enough. Every time you return to this practice, you train your heart to open wider, and a wide heart is a strong heart. The untouchable soul is not one that hides. It is one that shines. Even when misunderstood, even when rejected, even when unseen, it continues to give. Why? Because giving is not a strategy, it's a state of being. You no longer love to get, you love because that's who you are. And that kind of love disarms even the hardest hearts. That kind of peace confuses those still chasing power. That kind of presence heals rooms just by entering them. And yet, here's the secret. You do not need anyone to acknowledge it. You don't need applause. You don't need to be seen. Your joy is not dependent on reaction. You are like the Bodhisattva, one who walks the earth offering compassion without ego, without seeking reward, without clinging to outcomes. You've gone beyond needing proof that you matter because your existence has become the proof. When you radiate this energy, you become a walking blessing. You leave people better than you found them. Your silence carries comfort. Your eyes carry understanding. You become the space others didn't know they needed. And yet you ask for nothing in return, not out of martyrdom, but out of freedom. Because what can the world take from the one who needs nothing? This is the final step, the full circle. You've gone from guarding your peace to dissolving your ego, to anchoring in presence, and now to becoming a source of unconditional love. Not reactive, not needy, not controlling, just radiant, just still, just free. You've become untouchable, not because you've withdrawn from life, but because you've stopped letting it define you. You've stopped seeking worth and started being it. You've stopped demanding and started giving. And that is the greatest strength of all. You've reached the end of this journey. At least that's what it may seem like. But as you now know, true wisdom never ends. It only deepens. Every step we walk together was not merely a teaching, but a return to your quiet center, to your deeper self, to the untouched core that was always there beneath the noise. This journey wasn't about adding more knowledge or piling on new strategies. It was about shedding layers, peeling back distractions, and slowly, gently arriving back at your essence, the place where peace isn't something you search for, but something you realize you are. You've walked through 10 powerful, soul-defining steps, each one more than just a thought. They were mirrors, invitations, gentle disruptions to the way you've been taught to live. You've learned how to release attachment, to sit with discomfort, to see your suffering without being consumed by it. You've learned to let go of ego's fragile demands, to empty your mind so the divine can fill it, to radiate love even when the world offers none in return. And in doing so, you've become something rare, not a perfect person, but a peaceful presence. Someone who is no longer trying to be untouchable by avoiding life, but by flowing through it without being owned by it. And now, look at you. You're no longer reactive, no longer addicted to noise, no longer needing every moment to go your way to feel okay. You are learning the strength of the pause, the beauty of not responding, the miracle of observing without absorbing. You've touched something timeless, something unbreakable, and once touched, it never leaves you, because it was never outside you. It was always there, waiting, beneath the striving, beneath the fear, beneath the performance. Your stillness, your essence, your truth. There will still be noise in the world. People will still misunderstand you. Life will still bring its winds. But now, you are no longer a leaf that flutters with every gust. You are the tree that sways but does not fall. You've anchored your roots in silence. You've turned inward instead of outward. And that means the storms may still rage, but they will no longer define you. Because you've remembered that your worth is not found in noise, reaction, or external validation. Your worth is found in your stillness, in your breath, in your being. And if somewhere along this journey, your heart softened, if a long-held tension melted just a little, if a tear was released without resistance, if you felt even briefly seen or safe or whole, know this, that was not by accident. That was your soul awakening. That was your higher self emerging from the shadows. That was the sound of your inner wisdom whispering, "You're on the right path. Keep going." So carry this with you now, not as a checklist to follow, but as a new way to live. Speak less, but speak truth. Move slower, but with purpose. Hold people gently, but never tighter than your peace. Let the world be loud. You stay silent inside. Let others rush. You walk in mindfulness. Let life unfold. You stay rooted in trust. That is how untouchability becomes your way of being, not just a goal. And remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. Others are walking it too, quietly, silently, steadily, right here, within this circle of seekers, within this sacred space called wisdom without noise, a space where we don't shout for attention, we whisper for transformation, where we don't seek to impress, we aim to remember. Remember the stillness, the softness, the strength that comes from not needing to win, but simply needing to be real. If this video stirred something inside you, if your soul exhaled, if your spirit stood still, I gently invite you to subscribe to this channel, become part of a mindful movement, a silent revolution, a return to presence in a world drowning in performance. Type "I am ready" in the comments, not for the algorithm, but as a declaration that you are ready to live differently, to love more, to need less, to be free. This is not goodbye. This is an opening, a doorway, a breath. Because now, you're not just watching a video, you're walking a path. And with each step forward, in silence, in love, in presence, you become the very thing the world can no longer shake. You become untouchable.